real. Expectations, we all have them. Now, what we don't typically look at is how they impact our relationships, either past or present. Hey y'all, I'm so glad that you're here tonight. It is your girl, Kayla Williams, also known as K Will Speaks. Now, if you're here because you've been following me on my personal journey towards helping fatherless daughters find fulfillment, welcome. If you are here because you are a follower of John Patrick, also known as Sandboom Kid, welcome too. I'm glad to have you back because our last get together was fire. It was lit. And that's where we talked about the doubt that you didn't know about. If you haven't caught that, please go to my YouTube channel. In my bio, you will find that link so you can watch that episode. And just good, fruitful discussion between two young Black professionals who love God and also are seeking and desiring to live their best life. So, I have some news for you though, and I hope that you guys are not mad at me. Unfortunately, our brother, John Patrick, could not be here tonight because if you are from Houston, right, you know during hurricane season, it's just a whole bunch of uncertainty. So he hit me up today and let me know that he did have to evacuate. Don't worry though, he's safe. He is safe, but he did have to leave Texas. So he won't be able to join us tonight. However, y'all know I love to over deliver. I love to help you and he loves to help you as well in any way that we can on your journey to just overcoming any unresolved issues that you may have as a fatherless daughter. So he will be back. So don't worry about it. But tonight I am just going to give you my insight and my understanding of how to balance expectations and just to give you a sneak peek of what is to come with our conversation with JP next time. JP has just been giving me a lot of understanding and insight on what it looks like to balance a healthy relationship, right? And to balance your expectations in your relationship when it comes to your father. Because things will not be perfect. There will be some good times. There will be some bad times. However, if you seek to have that healthy relationship with your father, and if you are at that point as a daughter who may have grown up fatherless, but you do desire to build a connection with your father, please tune into that episode because he has just given me, right, just in our conversation, some great points on how he has done it with his father, just in that father-son relationship. So I'm excited for us to share that with you guys. But for tonight, I want to help you understand how to balance expectations. I was reading an article on the Huffington Post earlier today, and the article literally was about fatherless women and their expectations when it comes to men. And though it was like maybe 2 pages long, the main premise of the article was this: as a fatherless daughter, you either have expectations that are too high, right? Because in your head, you like, my man needs to be everything that my father wasn't, period. Okay? And so you set these extremely high expectations that no regular human can meet, especially not a man, right? And not saying that, no, shout out to my brothers, we love you. But when I say especially not a man, I'm saying like we're all flawed. Like we are all flawed. And y'all know that women and men we just tend to speak different languages half the time. But it's okay. But when you are a woman who grew up as a fatherless daughter, you tend to set those extremely high expectations, which often leave you disappointed. And that is something that I know that I dealt with as a fatherless daughter. Now, if you are not that woman that has set those extremely high expectations, but you may be that woman on the other side of the article who had very low expectations, right? Who had a very low standard because in her mind, she deals with that rejection, right? She deals with that abandonment. And any way, in any form that she can seek that love or, any type of love, she will settle for it. And so I'm not sure which bucket you're in, and And I always say this, if you ever want to talk about it, right? If you ever want to hit me up or talk to me about it, please go to the link in my bio, and schedule a 30-minute consultation, because I am here to help you better understand how you've been affected by fatherlessness. Maybe you have extremely high expectations, and that is prohibiting you from actually being in a healthy, long-term, stable relationship with a good guy. Or maybe you have extremely low expectations that will put you in toxic relationships or unhealthy situations, whether that be romantic or platonic or even familial. So when it comes to balancing expectations, it's a plethora of things that we can address. And so I really want to just help you understand that the ability to have balanced expectations for yourself and other people is an outlook that will reduce your disappointment and also just increase your understanding of who you are as a person. 3 things that I want you to remember on tonight. 3 things that I want you to remember on tonight is that you have to define your expectations. You have to define your expectations. How in the world can we say to somebody, this is not what I wanted in a relationship. This is not what I wanted in a friendship. This is not what I wanted of a father. This is not what I wanted from a parent, when we have not ever communicated or even defined for ourselves what that expectation is that we're looking for, right? So something that I've been doing is, I'm like, okay, Kayla, we talking about expectations. What are even expectations? And simply put, expectations is a strong belief that something will or should happen. It's a strong belief that something will or should happen. Now, what happens when you have that strong belief and the belief that you have is unreasonable? If the belief that you have is unreasonable, you're going to be left with disappointment. You're going to be left mad. You're going to be left feeling some type of way, because now the strong belief that you have, the expectation that you had, and the bar that you set for other people in your life is not attainable. For example, if you are in a relationship, right, and you have an expectation that the person that you are with will never snap at you, will never have an attitude with you, will never pop off at you randomly, right? That's kind of unreasonable. It's unreasonable because, like I said from the very beginning, we humans, we have our moments. And sometimes you could just say the wrong thing, push the wrong button, and bam, there they go. They done popped off, and now it's like fireworks up in here. But I say that's, maybe you're like, Kayla, first of all, that ain't unreasonable, because if he ever come at me sideways, no, I want you to hear me out. Hear me out. I say that is an unreasonable expectation because the person that you're dealing with on the other end, whether you intended to offend them or not, they human. They are human. So they may just have that moment where you was the person that hit that last straw and they had to go off on you real quick. However, I say that is an unreasonable expectation because the reasonable side of that is this. Even if you are mad, even if you do have an attitude, because I have defined my expectation, right? Because I have defined my expectation and how I look for people to deal with me, don't be cussing me out. Don't do that. I am not the one. That's how you know you got the wrong one. Don't be cussing me out. Don't call me out my name. Please do not raise your voice. I don't respond well to raised voices, right? That is a reasonable expectation, because a reasonable expectation is something that's logical. Typically, it's common sense ain't so common, but typically it's common mannerisms, just like respect and honoring somebody and just being able to listen to somebody's opinion without going off on them, right? So it's fair and it's reasonable to expect that the person that you're with, the friends that you have, your co-workers, it's reasonable to expect them to do their jobs, to expect them to be respectful to you, to expect them to be kind. Just be a decent human being, okay? It's reasonable to expect people to be a decent human being. However, it's unreasonable to hold people to a standard and say, oh no, you never need to have a bad attitude. You always need to have a smile on your face when you're around me because I'm the best person to be around. Like, nah, shawty, that ain't it. That actually ain't it. Sometimes you do get on my nerves. Sometimes as a sister, I don't want to talk to you because you do too much. Like, it's okay to have standards, right? It's okay to have those expectations that say respect me at all costs, even in the midst of dealing with some type of conflict or confrontation. So, all that to say, when we're talking about how to balance expectations so you won't turn into a fatherless daughter that either has no expectations or unreasonable expectations, define your expectation. What is your expectation? What are the things that you expect of the people that you interact with? I can name a few. I mean, for me, I expect honesty. I mean, don't be out here lying to me for no reason. Like, I don't got no, I'm a regular old girl. Okay? Don't be lying to me, trying to hide stuff. For what reason? Be honest with me. Be transparent with me. Because what helps me know that I can trust somebody is understanding, like, hey, these are my thoughts. This is how I feel about this, that, and the third. And when you did this, I didn't like that, right? So I am able to define my expectation in romantic relationships, even in friendships that I have, to say, if I do something that makes you mad or that offends you, please let me know. I need to know. I'm that friend. Like, if I do something that rub you the wrong way, please let me know. Because if you let me know, now I can address it as the perfectly imperfect human that I am. However, if I don't know that, right, and if I did not communicate that expectation, people gonna be mad at me and I don't even know what they mad about, and they've been mad for 6 months. Has that ever been you? I mean, let's just be real, y'all. Have you ever failed to define your expectation in any type of relationship and ended up being the one that was mad, or being the one that somebody was mad at and you didn't even know why they was mad at you? You didn't even know that they was feeling some type of way. It happens all the time. I think it's something that us, just as humans and even as young adults, right, fail to really articulate what it is we want. And especially as fatherless daughters, you tend to stray away from saying exactly what it is that you want because you don't want to run the risk of running somebody off. Because any type of love that you can receive, any type of accolade or validation or acceptance that you can receive is enough. And you don't want to ruin that or potentially harm that because you have defined an expectation that that person cannot meet. I want to encourage you, though, not to seek or welcome unwanted attention. Because when we do that, we compromise on our expectations. And when we compromise on our expectations, in the long run, we end up paying for it. I ended up paying for it. So that was my very, very long first point for you, is to define your expectation. And once you define that expectation, y'all know me, I love me some exercises. I want you to think about, what are the disappointments? What is a disappointment? You could just do one. What is a disappointment that you've had? It doesn't matter the type of relationship. We could even talk about with your father, right? What is a disappointment that you've had with your father? Whether he was there, he was not there, he couldn't be there, he didn't want to be there, he wasn't there. Whatever the reasoning is as to why your father wasn't present, I want you to think about if you have some unharbored or some harbored emotions or some unresolved issues as it relates to that. And when you think about that, do you feel some disappointment in your heart because your dad was not there in whatever way, shape, or form? Like, because he wasn't there, you feel some type of way. And I like to just say feel some type of way because this is a very sensitive topic, and I'm just understanding on this journey to help fatherless daughters find fulfillment that we are all at different places, different spaces, and it's really hard to say like, yeah, I got some deeply rooted daddy issues. And I never really thought about it, but now that you say it, yeah, I fit in that box. So what I do about it? And so tonight, this is tip 2. Tonight, this is tip 2. It's something light that I really want to help you understand. Like, what was your expectation of your father? What was your expectation of your father? And was it reasonable? What was your expectation of your father? And was it reasonable? I'll share with you. Because I did this exercise and just, working on this speech for you guys. And for me, my biggest expectation, honestly, it's sort of rooted in a statistic. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 68% of children will grow up. I'm sorry, I said it backwards. So, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, only 68% of children will grow up. I'm still saying it backwards. Only 32% of children will grow up in an intact family. So 68% of children, right? The other 68% will not grow up in an intact family. Intact family meaning father, mother, happily, healthily, working it out, pushing through their relationship and their marriage for their sake and also for the sake of their children. So there are 68% of other daughters out there, of even sons out there, who are growing up in a single parent household. And primarily it will be a mom only household because the father is not there. So with that being said, for me, my biggest disappointment is that I was like that Austin Powers. I don't know if y'all remember this, and this may show my age or not, whatever. But if y'all remember that Austin Powers movie, I believe it's Goldmember, but he sings this song. He's like, Daddy wasn't there to take me to the fair, to change my underwear. Daddy wasn't there. I don't know if y'all remember that. It's way back. But if you remember that, or even if you never heard of it, that was my expectation. Like, I desired to have a father that was present, not only physically, but emotionally, that would take me to a fair, take me to a carnival, take me to an amusement park, take me to the zoo, take me to Splashdown, take me to the SeaWorld, take me on road trips. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had an expectation, and my love language is quality time. I always tell y'all that. My love language is quality time. So my expectation was to have moments and memories of quality time with my father. Now, to some people, they may say like, well, that's a reasonable, like that's a logical expectation considering like, you're a child and he's your dad and, you just want him to be around, like you just wanted to spend time with him. But I will challenge you on that and tell you that I actually labeled it as an unreasonable expectation. I labeled it as an unreasonable expectation because growing up as a child, not only did I not understand, and there are still some things that I don't understand, the dynamics of my father and my mother's relationship, but also my father and my mother are both humans who were still figuring out their own lives and their own purpose and calling and identity and healing from even their emotional traumas as growing up as children. So I always say, like, how is it fair of me to expect, right, to have a strong belief that this is how a father should be, and if he's not like that, then he's not a good father? How is it fair of me to expect that I have this quality time and these multiple memories with my father if that was not what he was taught? And maybe he wasn't taught that because nobody taught his father. And maybe he wasn't taught, didn't exhibit that because nobody taught his father. And it can go on and on and on and on and on. And y'all know that's why I'm here, because the goal is to break these generational cycles of fatherlessness and absentee fathers as women. And so with all that being said, I want you to write your list. Like, write down that one thing that you expected of your father that caused you some disappointment in your heart. And when you do that, I want you to really think about it. Like, is this something that I can say was an unreasonable expectation or a reasonable expectation? And I really just want you to sit with that and think about that. And even we're talking about this in the context right now of your father, but you can take this and apply this very thing to your relationships. If you're in a romantic relationship right now, to your friendships, if you have friends that maybe you're on the fence about because you feel like sometimes they take advantage of you, or they don't treat you with kindness, or they play jokes on you, or you're always the butt of the joke, and it makes you feel some type of way. Like, how can you define your expectations in those relationships and then do some self-reflection and say, okay, so and-so did this today, and I did feel some type of way. And because I felt some type of way, I wonder, should I feel this type of way or not? Was it reasonable or unreasonable for me to expect them not to do what they did? And really just think about it. It's not hard, y'all. Just sit and think about it. Take some time to sit and think about it. But I first want you to really do that when it comes to your father and his absenteeism, okay? And the last thing, the very, very last thing I want to get you. So we talked about defining your standard, right? When it comes to balancing your expectations. Define your standard. Evaluate that standard, okay? So what is your disappointment? What has been your disappointment when it came to your father and him not being there? What was that thing? And was that expectation that you had of him, was it reasonable or was it unreasonable? And then the very last thing is to check yourself before you check others. How can I say I wanted as a child, right, to spend a lot of quality time with my father, when in all honesty, y'all know me, I'm transparent, I got nothing to hide. When all honesty, when the opportunities arose, half the time I chose to go elsewhere. Now, that may have been, and I'm sure it was, rooted in some unresolved issues and some already established kind of expectations or unmet expectations. So I didn't even want to try to change that. But I said to myself a couple of days ago, like, have you been checking yourself before you've been checking others? Like, have you been even living up to your own expectation? Have you been the person that's been respectful, that's been kind, that's been, sharing your thoughts with people if you are offended in any way, shape, or form? Or have you not been doing that and you just been mad on the other side of the fence and don't nobody even know why you mad? Nobody know that you got these issues that you're dealing with, and it's all because you over here trying to check others, but you haven't even checked yourself. We're not even living up to the standard, to the expectation that you've set for other people. That don't make sense. So I always say, like, when you define your expectation and you look through those disappointment lists, like, put yourself on the other side of it and say, well, what was I doing that led to this disappointment? Like, what was I doing that led to this disappointment? And all that to say, y'all, that learning to balance expectations as a fatherless daughter truly does lead you to an increased just awareness of who you are, what your desires are, what you want. And it helps you to articulate that when you do enter into relationships. If nothing else, I want you to remember that you don't have to go from, because you are a fatherless daughter, you have these extremely high expectations that can't no man in his right mind meet. And really it's because the standard that you have set for him is rooted in, I want everything that my dad wasn't, I need you to be, period. Like, that's not healthy, y'all. That's not cool either. Like, what that man do to you? He just trying to love you, and you over here punishing him for what your daddy did or for what your daddy didn't do. That happens. And so you don't want to be that woman. And you also don't have to be that woman, right? You can learn how to balance those expectations when you address those unresolved issues as it relates to your father. And also, you don't want to be that woman that has extremely low expectations. When you have those extremely low expectations, every time Dick and Harry gonna come to you, Billy Joe Bob, so yo, what's up, shawty? What's up, gorgeous? Can I get your number? And you be like, yeah, here it is. Here it is. That have it. Call me. I'll be waiting. And you wait by your phone for this joker to call you, and he a joker, and God had to block it, and now you feeling some type of way. I'm just saying. I've been there. It was me. Okay? So I can say what I'm saying. So, because I do not want for you to have to become the fatherless daughter that is now the fatherless woman who still has these unresolved issues at 40 and 50 and 60 years old, I don't want that for you, sis. Like, I really don't want that for you. Today, you can begin your journey of fulfillment and overcoming any unresolved issues that you may have as a result of growing up with a father who either wasn't physically present or emotionally available. So, with that being said, if this was helpful to you, please, 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 please go to discoverpieces.com. If you go to discoverpieces.com, you will go to a landing page, and it will just give you some opportunities to share your thoughts as it relates to this live, and just what you thought about it, and even how you're currently processing the effects of growing up without a father. I want y'all to know that I am working diligently to produce things for you that will help you to overcome any type of issues that you may have because your father was not present. I want y'all to know that. And every time that you participate in a survey, every time that you schedule a consultation, anytime that you DM me, it is all benefit. It is all to your benefit. And I don't want you to forget that. It's all for your benefit, for the benefit of your future children, your current children, and even their children. Because the moment that you decide, I will not allow these unresolved issues to determine the trajectory of my life. The moment you decide that, that is when we can begin our journey to helping you find fulfillment. So again, go to discoverpieces.com. Thank you if you are still here. Go to discoverpieces.com. Go to discoverpieces.com, and I just want you to know, like, we out here. We got some good things coming for you. And though you may identify as a fatherless daughter right now, I promise you it will not be for long. Because Psalm 68:5 says that God is a father to the fatherless. So if nothing else you got from this, when you're learning to balance your expectations, define your expectation. Define what it is that you want. Define what your strong belief is of what should be happening, how you should be treated, what you do want in your friendships, in your romantic relationships, from your family members. And then write out what that expectation was that you had for your father. And whatever that was, start to evaluate it. Was it reasonable or was it unreasonable? And be honest with yourself and be honest with your father. And lastly, check yourself, sis. Check yourself before you check others. Because if we set this standard and we start to articulate it and communicate it, but we ain't even living up to it, can people really take us seriously? They can't. They can't. They can't. But I love you. I want to thank you. And I want to encourage you to let God's grace shine through you and impact the lives of others as you start to learn to balance your expectations. Thank y'all. I love y'all. And I am excited to meet with you again, which is probably going to be sooner than later.